Welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I am your host, Jeremy Ryan Slate, the CEO and co-founder of Command Your Brand. We help brands to get out there in a big way using new media to command their brand and create a bigger impact out there in the world. If you want to check out our brand new PR book, it's over at bestpodcastbook.com. Reminder, if you're brand new to this channel, to like this video, leave us a comment, and smash that subscribe button if you want to command your brand. And we're going to get into a very interesting topic today, and that is the topic of franchising, and something I've wanted to delve a lot more into. We have James Hilovsky with us today. James, thanks for hanging out with me today, man.
Hey, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you having me.
So for people that may not know who you are and what you do, James, who are you and what you do, man?
Well, I'm what's called a franchise broker. So I do kind of two main things. First thing that I do is I take athletes and professionals. I wish all could be athletes, but professionals want to experience franchise ownership as well. But so
I was a mathlete myself, man, physically gifted, but not able to put the body movement together.
Well, right, and reason for athletes in franchising that's so great is, as you know, you've been used to following the playbook all your life. And franchise business ownership, that's what it's all about. They give you a playbook, you follow it, and you can be successful. So it's a great transition to go from athletics into franchise ownership. So I take people that are looking to get into franchise ownership and I match them. So I don't really sell anything. I basically match and advise my clients of what's out there. And I'll see someone and I'll ask them about their interest, because I represent over 400 franchise brands.
Wow.
Yeah. So I can always usually find a fit for someone. And then we talk about the industries that are out there, because in franchising, a lot of people think, oh, it's McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, and just food. Well, if you're driving along the road and you look around to all the kind of trucks and businesses go by there, I bet you over 50% really are franchise businesses. So we talk about the different industries that are out there. We talk about, do you want an owner-operator model? Do you want a passive model where you're going to hire a manager to run the business? We talk about investment level that's comfortable for the client. And then we take that data and I'll do a Zoom call and show them maybe 5 to 7 different options. They'll pick one or two. I'll introduce them to the franchisor, and then I'll stay with them during the whole time to make sure it's a good match. So I'll help them read the FDD, which is a franchise disclosure document. I'll help them verify with franchisees in the system to verify that, one, they get great training, it's a great system, and hey, when can I make my money back, and would you do this again? After we've made all those steps, then I think we have a pretty good sense of, will this be a great fit for you? And do you have a great potential to have a great business? So up to signing. So that's what I do. And everything that I do, I get paid out of the franchisor's marketing budget. So the client doesn't pay any extra fees or pay me. So it's really a no-brainer to use my services.
So, and it's interesting too, because I think people don't consider, I think most people don't understand the world of franchising, right? I don't think people have that, a lot of people have that kind of employee mentality, right? Even if they had been paid a lot of money, even trucking companies, a lot of them are owner operator for trucking, right? You may own the truck, but you may be trucking for someone else. And I guess for you, how did you get into the world of franchising? How is this something that you're this is of interest to me?
Well, that's a great question. So thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I was in the corporate world. I was 25 years for a company called Del Taco. So I was in their operations and headed up their operations. And then a startup company, restaurant, Pyology Pizzeria, they said, hey, you know what? We want to build our brand. We have one store now. We really want to build our brand. So I came over, helped them with their franchise system. So I worked their operations, some franchise development, and we went from one store got over to 100. I was out helping franchisees and showing them the brand. And then what happened was one of the largest franchisees of Pyology came and said, hey, will you come run our operations? Which was a no-brainer for me because they were located right in my backyard. And then they were owned by 2 NFL football player brothers. And the dad was also involved, and he played in the NFL. So we did Pyologies, then we did our own we did a Baked Bear franchise, and then we did our own concept of a coffee concept and a cookie dough concept. So then one of the brothers then decided that he was done with NFL after 14 years. You would say, yeah, it's time to call it quits. And he left. And then the other brother, he lost his, he got hurt. So he couldn't fulfill the rest of his contract. So then they decided, hey, we're going to pivot. We're going to go into the tequila business and, let's just kind of sell off and all that. And hey, I have nothing against tequila, but it was just not really, that was a passion of mine. And I was going, okay, what do I do now? And I decided, I wanted to step out of the restaurant world. And I just figured, you know what, I want to go in and help people find right franchise fits. And of course, I want to help professionals, because the hardest thing is, like you were referring to in professionals, of, hey, they have a job, they have a paycheck, and it gets too comfortable. But why don't we show them some options where they can have a much better life? And then so there was that part. And then on the athlete side, I also said, I want to kind of focus on athletes, because I saw all the schemes that they came up to with the brothers, even their best friends, of, hey, invest in this, invest in that. And it's like, I really kind of want to help educate athletes when the cheering stops, of, hey, there's some things out there, as well as the professionals, and of transitioning from that career and that 9 to 5. I know it's very tough, but I would tell you it'd be the most fulfilling thing you ever do. And you probably would come back and go, James, I wish I would have done this 5 years earlier.
What's interesting too, like, I guess just looking at the athlete perspective is, the poor guys have so many people like asking for their money, right? Like, I think but like the one that comes to mind for me, because I know it was like a big news story for a bit, is I don't know if you remember Trent Richardson, the running back for the Cleveland Browns.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
So Trent Richardson, he gave like everyone he was friends with a debit card. He invested in every opportunity that you could think of with nobody you'd ever heard of. So he like lost his entire salary in his first couple years playing in the league. And then he just really never turned out to be like what he was in college. So it's, for some guys, you do have a short opportunity and you want to invest in something that's like a reputable company that you've heard of, not like, hey, this is Lou, he may have an idea, and I think that's the difference with franchising, right? Is you're working with companies that, they have a track record.
100%. Not only the track record, but like we alluded to earlier, they're going to give you that playbook of, hey, you know what, we're going to help you with marketing. We're going to help you hire the people that you need to do the business with. We're going to give you the ongoing support. We're going to give you, some help with operations. So yeah, I mean, you're much more successful going within a franchise business to start your business on your own. That's 100%.
So when you're looking at it, like, I guess, what things are you looking at, like, when getting into franchising? What things would there's franchise fees, there's things like that. Like, what are when you're starting out, what things are you considering and what kind of outlays are you looking at?
So that's a great question. So you want to consider, the most common question is, what does it take to get into a franchise system? I would say if you have about $50,000 worth of liquid cash and the ability to get funding, really good credit, then you definitely can look at some different franchise options that are out there. So you kind of want to have that liquid cash so you have a little bit of runway, and then you could get into an SBA loan. When choosing a franchise, you do want to look at franchise fees. Right, roughly right now, the average is about 50,000. Then you want to look at royalties that they're going to charge, and then you also want to look at the track record of a franchise. And there's different things there. You could go with a long established franchise, or you could go with a startup franchise. There is advantages to both, as you have the track record of the large franchise. However, the downside is they might not have any more territory open where you want to open at, or they also are so just become so big that I'm not saying they don't listen to their franchisees, but they do. But if, let's just, for instance, say you wanted to add something to the business that you thought would do really well, the ones with 100 units probably is not going to listen as much as the guy who only has 2 or 3 franchises. He's going to go, yeah, let's try it and test it out.
Something I thought of while you're talking about that is, I guess a unique opportunity would be like, successful regional franchises that maybe aren't in your region yet. Like that could be something that could be a really hot idea. Like it's doing well, but it hasn't really, like the waters aren't full yet, if you know what I mean. Is that kind of an interesting strategy to go with?
Yes, absolutely. That's a totally interesting strategy. Can't tell you enough that there's some franchises out there that there's a fencing franchise that does really well that installs fencing and all that, and it's gotten so big now that it doesn't have a lot of territory available yet. But now there's a new startup fencing company that they only have one or two, and they are ready to become a competitor and then just tackle the market and go out there and be like their person that was before them and blazing that path and be able to sell franchises in the territory when other people didn't have a shot at it.
Well, you look at somebody like Peyton Manning, and I know he owns a bunch of Papa John's franchises, and I guess when you look at it, when do you know that it's time to go for multiple franchises, or when are you spreading yourself too thin? Like what does that look like in terms of a strategy and looking at over time?
That's a great question as well. So multiple strategy is a great strategy. So the advantages of when you just go into a franchise and go, hey, I'm just going to buy one franchise. So your franchisee is going to be 50,000, but let's just say you go, you know what, I want to have two or three. Well, now you can negotiate on that franchise fee, and it's going to be what it would have been 150 if you would have done them, back to back. Now maybe you could get it for $100,000 for the franchise fee, and you have 3 units, and then you're opening your first, and then you have what a lot of people don't understand is you have a time period to build those other restaurants. Like you go, hey, I have 2 years for option number 2, and then another year for option number 3, and then building that. You could start with one and then just build up your infrastructure, because that's what you need to be a successful multi-unit franchise. Of course, you got to start somewhere, but then you start at year one, and then you're building your internal team and developing that team so you can. That the long-term planning is we're going to expand.
When you talk about that infrastructure, like what does, let's say I am somebody franchising, what does that internal team look like for me? Like who are the people I should have around me? Because I'll tell you right now, that wasn't, until you mentioned it, that wasn't even something I was considering. Like what should that internal team look like?
Yeah, so you want to have really good operate. If it comes into the restaurant business, you really want to have someone who knows the restaurant business, someone who's going to be a really good, strong operator that has that experience to where, hey, I have multi-unit experience. I could oversee these 3 restaurants for you, against a manager who's kind of green and runs the restaurant, but he would have no idea how to run 2 or 3 others. You definitely want to have that strong team, and you can take that green manager and then develop him to eventually become taking over. He's going to oversee restaurants 4, 5, and 6. But you just want to build the team, and that's another way athletes are so successful, because they're used to being part of a team. They're used to they deal with a lot of different personalities. Same thing in franchise business. You got to build a big team and an infrastructure to go out and be successful.
And I guess looking at it then, what would you say are the best, I don't know if personality traits covers everything, but what would you say are kind of the best traits someone should have to be a successful franchisee? Like what are the things about them that make them good at it?
So the things about them that make them good at it are, one, very open-minded. So you got to be open-minded. You can't be quick to criticize, and you can't really point fingers, because at the end of the day, yes, the franchisor is there to support you and give you all that great support. But at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself, and it falls back on you to make your business work. So you have to go, hey, I'm not going to point fingers at the franchisor is not doing this. It's, hey, I want to take what they're telling me to do. I have never done this business. I've been successful in a past career, but I've never done this business. And you got to go lead me and show me the way and be able to follow and just have that open mind of being able to take and take their instruction that they're giving you.
And I'm sure every business is different. And I think it depends on, what type of franchise you're investing in, everything else. But at the same time, when you're looking at your pathway to profitability, is there a typical, it's 3 years or it's 4 years or it's 5 years, or is there a typical kind of profitability pathway when you're looking at, being a new franchisee?
Yes, that's a great question. For restaurants, you're probably looking at a 3-year pathway. What I really like to show
I
my
think that's not something people consider out of the gate is like, hey,
yeah.
you're not going to make money for X number of time, and then you're going to make some really good money. But do continue, James. Sorry.
Yeah, no, no, no. I agree with that. You definitely have to be in it for the long haul in any business. But of course, you want to look at what am I going to get my fastest returns on? There's a couple franchises that I've placed. It's a new franchise starting up, and that franchise, your money's back within the first 6 months to the first
Wow.
year. So if you do it right, and typically that's where you have the potential earnings. So that is very quick, and that investment is on the lower investment level of 200K total all in, and you're back in the money within your first year. You have the potential to be. I would say this is one that if you have a bad location, then you're probably get your money back within 2.5 years. So that's still a really good investment to do. And it's different that you look at size of real estate, size of building, what the rent's going to be, and all that, or
Sure.
what you get your money back. But you want to kind of plan the long way, 3 years. But there's strategies and franchises out there where you do have the potential to get it back fairly quickly.
And obviously, like I think when people hear franchise, they're typically thinking of fast food and things like you mentioned earlier. But at the same time, there's franchises for so many different things. Like, what verticals are you most excited about right now, or what are the ones that are kind of the fastest growing?
Well, the franchise I was referencing, that is a dog grooming franchise, to where
People
they
spend so much money on their animals. Oh my gosh.
so get this. So it's dog grooming, and it's $45 a month subscription model. So you're going to beat your competition, because who else is going to say $45 a month? You could take your dog in every day if you wanted to. And so you're going to beat your competition immediately. You have that reoccurring revenue, much like a gym model, and that's the one that your money's back very quickly, has the potential to be back very quickly. With my athlete clients, it's mainly, we're looking at gyms, health and wellness, and those type of franchises. I love all those. If you told me right now, what's the top three that you show? I show that dog grooming franchise. I show a gym franchise that your money's back fairly quickly on that one. That's probably maybe a year and a half, 2 year run on that. Maybe even sooner if you hit a home run. But this gym, they do weight loss challenges in their gym. So not only
Oh,
do you
wow.
have gym memberships, but every 6 weeks they have new clients coming in to do weight loss challenge, and they sell supplements and they do meal planning for them. So they're really helping transformation of lives as well. And that franchise is doing really well. And then there's a franchise that does trees, where they trim trees, they treat
Oh,
lawns,
wow.
and they do pest control. So it's like three franchises in one, and your money's back typically in the first year on that one as well.
James, what thing do you feel like most people should be asking about franchising, but they never ask you?
That's a really great question. I think what they really
That's like the
never ask,
insider baseball question, right? Like you,
right?
you
It
wouldn't be
is.
like, you
It's like,
wouldn't know unless you ran into it and you're like, damn it, I wish I knew it.
exactly. Well, I would say keep the open mind. So what you should ask me, but keep the open mind of, it's going to be scary if I'm coming from the professional world of having a paycheck. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not a risk, because it is. But what I will tell you is that opportunity to have your own schedule, have everything that's for you. So now everything that you do during the day is going to impact you and your family's life. And then I also will add this to you too. When you're a professional and you're making that paycheck, yes, absolutely, you can pay your bills and all that. But let's just say you have a tuition bill for your kids going to college, and you're going to pay that bill if you choose to be that cool parent that is going to do that. You're going to have to allocate some of that money out of your paycheck. Well, in your business, what opportunity do you go, gosh, if we did something to the business, or we could take out more to pay that off? You have much more financial flexibility when you own your own business as well.
My parents gave me your grades better be good because I'm not paying for it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well, James, I've really enjoyed this conversation. For people watching, if they want to find out more about you and more about franchising, how's going to be the best way to do that?
Yeah, that would be visit my website, thefrandream.com. So that's thefrandream.com. That's FRANDREAM.com. And on the website, when you go on there, there'll be a business assessment. Go ahead and take that business assessment, and it'll tell you where your strengths are in business that would match you up to a really good franchise system.
Very cool. Well, James Hilovsky, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, sir.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.